Okay, we should be live. My microphone looks like it's working. There we go. Right, welcome everyone to this week's episode of Techie Tuesdays. Glad you're tuning in this week. If you are, if you're watching this pre-recorded, you have any questions, you can comment it down below. But if you're watching it live, I have the live chat box in this tab here. Yeah, I can see my own stream. That's all working. So yeah, as you can see by the title of this Techie Tuesdays, I'm going to be analysing the RemcosRAT, specifically because I saw it in Malware Bazaar and it's not as common as, let's say, like Armady or Agent Tesla or Redline. I have analysed 3 types of rats before. I might have them Remcos, but I'm going to do a bit more of a deep dive live, and I'll be able to answer any questions that happen during. If we find out that we run into some sort of anti-VM capabilities, anti-VM being the malware detects it's inside of a virtual machine and then tries to disappear or delete itself or not run, we can have a look in how it would be patched out during reverse engineering. But other than that, let's get straight into it. So I'm on my SentinelOne tenant here. It's just a test tenant. Let's go into Sentinels and I'll show you the device that I'm currently on. Win10 development is not the one that I'm currently on, but desktop 821 MSHA, MSAH, and here's the device just there. You can see I've already got an iCar thing just being blocked. That was just a test. So let's go into Malware Bazaar first. So Malware Bazaar, if you haven't already gathered by all of the Techie Tuesdays so far, it's my favorite malware repository. These captures again more difficult. So let's see if we can find it in the first page. I only saw one example recently where there was a Remcos. There we go, the RemcosRAT from Adrian Luca, another threat researcher. I believe this one was flagged as goo loader. I've read it before. Yeah, you can see in Joe Sandbox's loader that it's stated as goo loader, which is likely just the payload, a hacking triage as well. You can see that it's RemcosRAT isn't its own, or in the hacking community, it's considered FUD or fully undetected loader or encryptor, which effectively hides the actual RemcosRAT payload encrypted within the portable executable resources of the file itself. So what happens is that initially you have a payload that looks just like some arbitrary code, but has some sort of direct clock access or query system information, and that's the anti-VM sort of stuff there. And then if it's in the right environment and not inside a VM, what the loader will do is it will decrypt the portable executable, the encrypted bytes of the RemcosRAT payload, decrypt it, and then filelessly create a process without touching the disk, because it's fileless to evade certain types of detections from traditional AV specifically, because EDR still detect it. And once that payload is ran, that is the continuation of the exploitation. And so GooLoader is just simply there to carry the payload past the AV and attempt to install the RAT that way. So I'm not too sure if this one, where RemcosRAT was actually dropped, it might have had a dead C2. So if you, just to explain that term a bit better, the command and control server which controls the RemcosRAT might have been dead, which means it never actually ran in the first place. Let's have a quick look at this now. So this is someone else's sandboxing of it. I'm not going to be installing this payload onto my virtual machine, as I don't think Remcos was actually dropped. So let's find another one. I'm going to go to tag Remcos And if you have any questions, just let me know in the chat. I'll check it every now and then, and I'll be able to get back to you. So as you can see, there actually have been some submissions today. It's been about 5 of them, so it is quite an active piece of malware. I'm not too sure where this is being, in terms of threat intelligence, where this is actually being distributed from. Usually, I would know if it's from breached forums, but breached forums just been taken down. So we don't, or I don't actually know where RemcosRAT's coming from. It might be Russian, but I can't say for sure. So let's find, I think ThreatCat.ch, this one was the actual, this one actually had the RemcosRAT inside of it. Yep. So as you can see, Remcos, these are all different types of threat intelligence and sandbox engines. Absolutely great tool if you're doing malware analysis. It's a must-have if you're doing individual analysis here. So anyway, best thing to do is to get it running on a virtual machine and see what SentinelOne does in terms of detections. So malware bazaar. So in terms of detections on SentinelOne, I'm currently on the detect policy with all detection engines on. So there is no automatic remediation, kill, quarantine, or rollback. There is no disconnecting from the network. And I just want to see full visibility of these threats. Of course, anti-tamper snapshots and logging. So anti-tamper meaning that anything that runs, anything that tries to run, I think it's anything that's kernel level cannot affect SentinelOne at all, and anything below that, of course. So even if a piece of malware were to import kernel 32, it can't just start attacking the SentinelOne agent itself, because SentinelOne is hooked deep inside the system, and that's the anti-tamper capabilities there. And then snapshots, that's the rollback capability of SentinelOne. The virtual shadow copy service snapshots that allow SentinelOne to have the rollback capabilities, and that's patented specifically to do with ransomware and malware recovery. So yeah, that's one reason to go with SentinelOne. So yeah, let me go into Malbazaar. Let's go to the database. Tag Remcos. ThreatCat.ch. And let's get the download. So remember, okay, so before we even start, you can see that the file name is btcwalletdetails.exe. So technically it's a Trojan, as it's pretending to be a different type of file. It's almost a, okay, so it's a megabyte in size, which is pretty standard. I'm not too sure what Remcos is written in, or I can find out. So it has actually been Visual Basic scripts. So it's written in C++, yeah. So, I mean, that's a pretty standard size for C++ malware. Let's just download a sample. Make sure that if you're testing out any sort of malware, be it so on a virtual machine, that's segmented away from your current running domain or production environment, because there are, of course, virtualization escape exploits that do exist, that are public and proof of concepts, and so it's definitely something you need to keep an eye out for and not have any threats on production, or try your best not to, obviously, because it still happens. So I'm going to open up 7-zip. And what was the file called? 7A1. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to initially just drag and drop it to desktop to try and click in the SentinelOne static engines first. I'm not going to be giving this portable executable a runtime straight away, which means I'm not going to be running it. I just want to see if SentinelOne can statically analyze the file using its reverse engineering tools to see if SentinelOne has any detections for it so far. No, that's quite okay. There you go. Suspicious file. So SentinelOne doesn't have a file hash detection for this. I don't believe specifically because file hash detections are only malicious. So let's go into incidents. On right, static AI is suspicious. So as you can see here, majority of detections in this portable executable of high entropy, some obfuscation or hacking. This binary may contain encrypted or compressed data measured by high entropy of the sections. So, as I was saying before, it looks like this is crypted or loaded. It might be a private loader as there hasn't been any threat contextualization in some of the sandboxes that we have seen. I'll quickly run into here and I'm going to bring up patching triage. And as you can see, Remcos remote host persistence rats, blah, blah, blah. Let's go back into SentinelOne and see that the binary may contain encrypted or compressed data measured by 100 of other sections. So this is probably AES 256 or 128. Most likely 256 is just pretty standard for crypting. Let's view this in virus total. Let's see if virus total has seen this so far. As you can see, it's all been spread around. Macro create only, long sleeps, detect debug environment. So this is, if you know anything about When API, obviously this is detect it. Is debugger present? It's a When API function. Checks network adapters, checks user input, assembly, and it's a spreader. So threat category is potentially unwanted application, PUA. I think it's a bit more than that. So anyway, let's just run it, see what happens. Straight away, SentinelOne is detected as malicious. So if you were to have a protect or protect detect in your policy inside of your environment, that would instantly be mitigated. And it seems like it's done a quiet install. Let's have a look on Task Manager. So one quick way to check if something's running on your device, you can obviously use Task Manager. However, it is actually possible for malware to do DLL injection into the Task Manager itself to specifically hide itself. Remote control. This might be me. Oh, I think it says it's automate remote control. I don't know if it's running. Oh, here we go. I can't read that. But as you can see there, it's dropping more and more. That was likely the sleep. So sleeps are just simply timings and delays in the. That is a strange name. So it's a 32-bit piece of malware. It looks like DOAN HQT CSDL. Let's have a look at this. Compatibility. So if this is the post exploitation payload, it looks like the original file has dropped tosehi.exe, and it's also dropped a DOAN HQTCL. Let's go back into SentinelOne and find out what's really going on here. So here we go. So we have our static detection, and then we have our cloud detection. So they're not using polymorphic pieces of remote access Trojan, which is quite embarrassing. But as you can see, there is a keylogger installation. It's attempted to remap a core DLL of the OS. That's unbelievable. That's really bad. if you didn't have an EDR that could detect this sort of threat, you're botched completely. When you see stuff that's trying to remap core DLLs on the OS, it's a really, really, really critical post-exploitation element right there. So there's, as you can see, there's just so much information we have from SentinelOne. Code injection to a remote process, persistency, scheduled task. So even if you were to look in run keys for persistence, you wouldn't be able to find it because it's scheduled task. Did remap a core yet? To evade monitoring process, use a process following technique. So what's happened is it's created a process, or it's trying to edit another process, and then injecting the malicious code into that process to be ran. Sentinel detects this, of course, as you can see. What else can we find out? Let's go into Explore. So let's have a look at the SentinelOne storyline. So as you can see here, SCH tasks.exe, creating files, and then this is likely where the handle for the C2 connection is being established. So I'm guessing the hackers from this RemcosRAT operating can see my mouse spinning around right now. Probably very confused, probably going to be famous because he's on Techie Tuesdays. But yeah, so as you can see, SentinelOne has correctly detected all of the dropped malware statically and dynamically. So best thing to do here is to remediate these threats. There's nothing more to analyze here because we know it's malicious. There was no anti-VM we had to debug or we had to patch out. So yeah, let's just get straight into it then. So I'm going to select all three of these by selecting in bulk on the top button here. Threat actions, mitigation action. I'm going to do a rollback because I don't know what it's done to the device. I don't like how it's tried to edit DLLs within my operating system on the VM. Markers resolved, true positive. Press apply, and then straight away you can see that the endpoint is now considered clean on the device and SentinelOne. Let's go back. File was gone, and that really weird process is also gone too. You can see that the user is now getting resolved notifications. So yeah, and then straight away mitigated. That's everything you need to see for RemcosRAT. So quick word of advice, don't install random pieces of software because RemcosRAT, if you don't have an EDR agent installed like SentinelOne, some of the post-exploitation actions that these sorts of modern rats can do is just crazy stuff. Like I said about how it can hide from Task Manager, which is just absolutely mental. So, thank you very much for tuning in this week. Hope to see you guys next week. Thank you.